Good morning. I am providing this very short PowerPoint or Google Slides presentation for those of you who cannot meet with Mrs. Irvin regarding our test security for the upcoming end of course exams that start on April 9th and the 10th. Please be reminded that she is meeting with teachers on April 2nd up in the middle school at 3 o'clock after school regarding test security as well. At the end of this short presentation is a link to a survey. Please make sure that you do access that and complete that for us. All right, so by law, we need to have a little conversation about test security before we give the end of course exams, provide a short training, and this is an example of that for those of you who cannot get with Mrs. Irvin. The state of Ohio does mandate that we do this. It is a part of Ohio revised code. Also, please know that on the website, on ODE's website, is the statewide testing rules book, as well as the test administration manuals. Mrs. Irving has provided those to individuals. If you do not have one or want one, please either access it on the website or see Mrs. Irvin about those two documents. And again, by law, we must have some policy and some training. And we started this way back in the beginning of the year when Mrs. Irvin had everybody sign off on the test security planning, those wonderful yellow documents that you say that you've read, you understand what security means, and you know what test fraud is. You had to sign off on all of that. And then it goes through even today as we discuss the test security for the upcoming end of course exams. So let's get started on that wonderful fun stuff. First of all, please make sure that all test materials are secure. So once Mrs. Irving gives those to you on the day of end of course exams, make sure they stay secure at all times. Your students must be monitored at all times by the test administrator, which will be some of you in the classroom. Mrs. Irving will send out a document that will highlight who is proctoring what exam and when. Even stepping out into the hallway is considered a violation, so please don't do that. It's actually two violations because number one, you're not securing the exams, and number two, you're not monitoring the students. The testing environment is an important part of testing. The testing environment should provide reasonable distance between testers, should not crowd the students. This prevents collaboration, ensures that there's independent testing. If you have any type of chart, map, or any other type of material that could assist students, that some are posted somewhere in the room, those need to come down or be covered. And please remember that teachers and monitors must consistently and actively monitor students while testing is going on. So again, some examples of secure test material violations: unattended testers. This is a violation. Materials that might not be locked away or always in sight by you is a violation. Test outside the school building is a violation. Taking pictures of students taking tests is a violation. So please make sure that you stay focused on the students and the test at hand while testing is going on. Test incidences. A test incident is any event or procedure that may impact a student's performance on a test or may potentially impact the integrity of the test, the data, and the test results before, during, and after testing. There are three types of test incidences. Those are testing irregularities, test security violations, and technology incidences. So let's take a look at some security violations. A test security violation is an unethical testing practice or violation of the state or school security procedures that compromise the test security and or data security and the integrity of a student's school results. The key words in the statement are unethical, compromise a test, and integrity. Districts must also review their district policies and provide staff training annually, which we're doing right now, to ensure that all staff are familiar with all test security policies and procedures. Common security violations are inappropriate use of electronic devices, especially the cell phones, reproducing test materials, please don't do that. Coaching students or providing clues or answers, definitely a no-no, do not do that. Leaving tests unsecured and leaving the testers unattended. Moving on to the cell phones and the internet. Cell phones, smartwatches, internet-connected devices were 35% of all security violations from January of 2018 to June of 2018. Assessing the electronic device during testing is grounds for a test to be invalidated. Now, if a student is observed with a cell phone during or after the test session, it is important to determine if any test question, passage, or prompt was photographed, texted, or in any way compromised. Please contact either Mrs. Urban or your building principal. Testing administrators may have a cell phone for the following reasons: medical and technology emergencies, to use as a timekeeper, or to otherwise perform necessary testing responsibilities. Never, I repeat, never take photographs of students, tests, computers, or the testing room during the testing time. Reproducing test items. So this is like when you go ahead and reproduce the state tests in any way. So if you, for whatever reason, decide to take a picture or a video of the test before, during, or after the test session, that's a violation. If you decide to photocopy or scan the tests, that's a violation. Sharing test questions or screenshots of tests on social media, and educators writing down test content for test prep purposes. Those are all violations. Please do not do those. Also prohibited would be looking up passages that were on the test, sharing information with a colleague about what was on the test, and keeping the student's scratch paper. All forms of violations. Moving on to some more security violations. Coaching was 47% of security violations that happened during the last school year. Some forms of coaching are not always intentional. Many times a small mistake ends up with an entire class with invalidated tests and the school under the investigation. Some forms of coaching are intentional and unethical. Examples would be this: telling students, you should rethink that one. Giving a hand, a face, a body gesture that gives hints. Writing notes with hints. Reviewing student answers such as, you need to write more. Asking a student to relook at a question. Or pre-teaching a topic you saw yesterday on a test. All types of violations. Unsecured tests. ODE had several situations last year of unsecured tests. Running to the bathroom during testing. Taking a phone call during testing. Stepping into the hall for a short conversation during testing. All of these situations lead to tests being unsecure and as a result, a security violation. So again, active monitoring the test the entire time is the #1 way to prevent this from happening. Reporting test incidences, it is required by law. So if it did happen, make sure that you report it. It will result in investigation. It could come from many sources, and it could eventually make its way down to the Office of Professional Conduct. So please do all we can to minimize, or not even minimize, to have no security or testing violations. Okay, last one, security violations. Things do happen. This graph provides a picture of incidences that had occurred last year. So there that is, 47%, look at that. Giving clues and cheating. 2% looks like was for ELPA, one-on-one. Looks like maybe some unauthorized person was in a test during one time. Cell phone usage took up about 30%. You can read that, but make sure that we try to minimize to 0% security violations this coming testing season. Take test security seriously. According to Ohio Revised Code, it'll allow for a suspension of a license and termination of a teaching contract for school employees who are found to have assisted a pupil cheating on an assessment. So please, please, please do not do that. And then the last slide is, always remember, active proctoring, active monitoring. Teacher cell phone use can only be used for specific reasons as outlined in this presentation. Otherwise, do not use your cell phone, and the students should not use cell phones. Always keep materials on hand. Scrap paper, graphing papers, calculators, math reference sheets. You need to keep those, and those all go back to Mrs. Urban. And then, of course, be familiar with the script and, of course, all the testing procedures. If you have any questions at any time, please make sure that you see Mrs. Urban or myself. And then lastly, you do have a link to this presentation in an email. Click on the proof of concept. It's a short survey for you to answer a few yes/no questions, and we're good to go. Thanks so much.